everybody, Dan Illman, Mike Beer with the DRF Race of the Day presented by DRF Bets. And our race of the day for Friday, October the 28th is one of two stakes races on the Keeneland card. Race number 8 is the Valley View. It's a grade 3, mile and a 16th for 3-year-old fillies. Let's take a peek at this field. Scan the QR code for Race of the Day access on mobile, as is usually the case in our Keeneland stakes action. We have an overflow field. 12 in the body of the race, 13 and 14 also eligibles. Chad Brown is the morning line favorite, the 5 Dulce Zell, wired last time out in the Lake Placid.
Ran pretty well in that race. I don't know, Dan. I just sort of felt like Dulce Zell was clearly the horse to beat in here. She's 5-2 on the line, which I just think is a fair price if you can get it. I know she's only 2 for 5 since she got here this year, but I think she's run well in every one of her starts.
I'm curious as to your take on this pace, Mike. Timeform US believes that it could heat up, and I get it. It is a big field for big money. The 12 bicameral is shipping in from Southern California. It's going to have to be used a little bit to get position from the outside post. The number 8 Bubble Rock has shown some speed, but is hardly a blazer. Turner Loose has shown some speed. I guess maybe Bubble Rock would be my pick to make the front, but I'm not sure how fast they're going to be going.
Yeah, I don't know if I agree with the red bars designation, but I suppose that there's a chance that happens, if only because it's such a big field and a couple of the horses who feel like they want to be forward are drawn to the outside. So maybe they just have to go, Dan. I mean, I didn't necessarily think it was going to be fast, but I suppose it's possible.
Now, a horse that would really appreciate a fast pace is a filly that loves Keeneland, the number 1 California Angel, a daughter of California Chrome, a graded stakes winner at Keeneland as a 2-year-old, coming from way out of it in left field to win. She ran okay last time out in the grade 1 Queen Elizabeth II Cup only 13 days ago. It was a race that didn't really feature a fast pace. She was last. She tried to come with a run. She never changed leads in the stretch. She was only beaten 2 by a perfect trip winner.
That's true. Listen, I thought she ran fine last time. When I went back and watched the replay, Dan, I wasn't, I thought maybe I would like the race more when I watched it than I actually wound up liking it. I mean, I thought she ran fine in there. There was never a point in that race where I thought she was going to win. She did just miss second and third. I guess she ran okay. I don't want to knock her. I would never bet her at the morning line.
Number 2 is a very lightly raced daughter of Ghost Sapper, 30-1 on the morning line on Frippit, going out for Augustin Stable. Trainer Jonathan Thomas coming off of a nice victory in a return to turf. Let's watch that race at the Meadowlands. This is a first-level allowance, and she showed the ability to get up close to the pace in this race. The pace was not fast. They went the half in 51-2. Frippit finished it off okay. She does have a lot of upside, and she can get close to the pace. I'm just not sure what she was beating in this race.
Probably not too much. I appreciate the way that she did it, Dan. Very well held early to let somebody else take the lead. Took over when it was time. I thought she won it pretty easily off a layoff in her return to turf. The other thing that I think that you have to sort of respect about her is she's only run on turf one other time. That was here at Keeneland in April. She ran really well in that race. That happened to be a very good field, and the horse that beat her that day would look really good in this race. Unfortunately, she's not here. And I thought Frippit ran really well that day. I think there's a lot of upside with this horse.
The number 3, Oakhurst, going out for Little Red Feather Racing. Michelle Nevin, the trainer of record. This one used to be trained by Chad Brown. She is also entered in a weaker spot at Belmont at Aqueduct on Friday, where she'll be one of the favorites in that race. Oakhurst ran in the Saratoga Oaks 2 starts back. It was a situation where I was a bit surprised Joe Rosario just took a good hold of her in a race that didn't have a lot of pace. She was held up at last, and she just couldn't sprint home with those horses. And last time out, the Virginia Oaks, she had a tough post in a field that has actually turned out to be okay.
Yeah, that race has turned out to be okay. It's still not my favorite race for this division, but it has turned out to be pretty solid. I think more than anything else, and I like this field. I think she does have some talent, and I'm not sure, which race they're pointing to, but I actually feel like she's a contender in either one. More than anything else, I just like her going a little shorter here. I feel like they might have rated her 2 back in the Saratoga Oaks because they were concerned about the distance, and it didn't really work out for them. I like her going shorter.
The 4 is My Philly Twirl, and My Philly Twirl reeled off 3 consecutive victories on turf, and then she ran in the Grade 2 Edgewood against Dulce Zell at Churchill Downs, and maybe we shouldn't hold that race against her. A lot of horses just didn't seem to hand the Churchill Downs turf course all year long. She was put away after that race. She came back at Presque Isle Downs. She got a nice pace setup over their synthetic track and just got up to win. The 4th place finisher returning to earn an 86 buyer on the synthetic. I think she's okay, Mike. It's just that stakes win in the Sanibel Island 3 starts back. It was a blanket finish, and there was a 1,000,000-to-1 shot involved in it.
Yeah, I didn't necessarily love the races that she was winning earlier this year, but I'll give her the credit she deserves for winning all 3 of them, Dan. And, doing it as a very early 3-year-old with some solid figures. So there's a real chance that, there's a big forward move coming at some point. Maybe it will be here. I'm concerned that she won't get the trip that she needs to be really effective in this race. If that pace is fast, it's going to work against her.
As Mike mentioned, the number 5, Dulce Zell, your morning line favorite, is simply the horse to beat. She is a multiple graded stakes winner this year for Chad Brown. Her most recent start was the Lake Placid. We're going to take a look at that race right now, and she has the tactical speed to work out good trips. I thought all in all this worked out. She was down towards the inside in the pocket. Now, the pace wasn't very fast, and the race was won in gate-to-wire fashion by Haughty. Dulce Zell's going to come out in mid-stretch. She's going to have a look at this thing, and she's going to finish an okay 3rd. Maybe she didn't get optimal clearance, but I thought all in all the trip was okay.
I mean, I agree with you that it was, except that, once again, Dulce Zell's a horse who really gets out of the gate well and has good tactical speed, and they never go with her. And that was the case in the Lake Placid. She broke on top. They were happy to concede the lead to Haughty, who then just walks on the lead. And when we picked up that replay, Dan, I mean, that's right when they started sprinting, and they want her to outfinish Haughty and with the Moonlight. I mean, to me, that's just not going to work out. I think she's run well in every start since she's gotten over here. And I just think she's pretty clearly the horse to beat in here.
I have a little bit of remorse that I didn't upgrade the 6, Majestic Glory, on my picks, as we'll see a little bit later on. This horse has some class. She was a group stakes winner at 2, and she's only raced once in North America. That was the Pebbles at Aqueduct, and it was a race that had no pace whatsoever. The horse got to the lead, wired them, went 49-2. We saw the runner-up, Gina Romantica, come back, win the QE2 with a 91 buyer. Majestic Glory just fell far back. She was basically last. She came with an okay run. She gets a better setup here with that race under her girth. She can improve, and 6-1 is fair.
I think all those things are true. She was actually a little headstrong in that race too, where they were rating her behind a slow pace. It looked like she wanted to get more forward, but she couldn't get there. I guess the flip side of all that, Dan, is even though they weren't going fast in front of her, she got to save an awful lot of ground in that race. Just never had to leave the rail, rallied up the inside. The horse that outfinished her for 3rd was sort of wide the entire way and actually ran much better than Majestic Glory did. But still, there are ways to make a real case for this horse. And I agree with you. That might be a fair price on the morning line.
The 7 is Lady Pucci. Trainer Ken McPeak is going to wheel her back on only 2 weeks rest after this victory in a first level allowance at Keeneland, going a mile over a wetter turf course. And while I thought she had a little bit of traffic issues in the early part of this race, this trip's ultimately going to work out. She's going to find the split in mid-stretch. She's going to come after this tired pace setter, and she's going to run on by. She ran her usual race, a buyer in the low to mid-80s. She has a little bit more tactical speed than she showed in this race, Mike, so she's adaptable to any kind of pace setup.
Yeah, really does have good tactical speed. Wins this race, pretty easily. I agree with you. I thought that trip really worked out, and she was just the best horse in there. 2 back, I thought she got really unlucky in the Virginia Oaks. I'm not so sure that she wouldn't have won that race if she didn't, wind up between and just started getting bounced around between horses in the upper stretch there. I still thought she ran well. I just don't love the Virginia Oaks, as a race overall. I think this is tougher.
Bubble Rock is the number 8, lightly raced for Brad Cox. Big price for a Brad Cox trainee, 15-1, and a horse that's already a graded stakes winner on the turf, albeit sprinting. And she's also a stakes winner going 2 turns over synthetic earlier this year. Now, her most recent start, she had a lot of excuses, I think. A, it was her first race since April. B, it was over that tricky Kentucky Downs configuration. She has some speed, and maybe she'll try to control this from the start.
I feel like they almost have to go in here and just see what happens, Dan, because, more than anything else, and I do think she has at least a little bit of ability, more than anything else, I still think the jury's out as to how far that she wants to go. Is she a sprinter? Is she going to be able to get a mile and a 16th against really good horses? I think that's a real question. But at 15-1, you could certainly pay to find out.
The third finisher from her most recent start did come back to win 2 in a row, albeit on dirt at Hawthorne. Buyers of 85 and 84, respectively. Sparkle Blue is the number 9. She won the Christiana 2 starts back at Delaware, going this mile in a 16th distance. She was pretty game that day. The pace setter made the run. She was able to run that horse down. Last time out in the Virginia Oaks, she used her good tactical speed. She got up close to the pace, and she ran well at a big price. That race has produced 3 next out winners.
I thought she ran fine last time. I thought Lady Pucci ran better. Lady Pucci finished 4th in that race. I thought she ran the better race, but Sparkle Blue ran fine. Another step in the right direction there, and she's got good tactical speed, so she should be within range of the leaders early, but she doesn't need to be on the lead.
Another stakes winner is up next. That's the 10 Heavenly Hellos. She's 50 to 1 on the morning line. She took a stake at Horseshoe Indianapolis 3 starts back, then was in against Dulce Zell in the Lake George and just wasn't up to that level of competition at that point. Again, the Dueling Grounds Oaks, the race at Kentucky Downs, I'm not going to hold that against her.
Yeah, I won't either. When she won the race at Horseshoe Indiana, she was the longest shot on the board. She'll probably be the longest shot on the board in here.
The 11 is Turner Loose. This is a horse that was a graded stakes placed performer at Keeneland at 2. She finished behind California Angel despite doing all the work in that Jessamine Stakes, a race that was dominated by closers. She has done some good things this year on dirt, a graded stakes winner for Cox, and it looks like they're just slowly rounding her back into form after taking a break following the Kentucky Oaks. Back on turf, again, not interested in the Dueling Grounds Oaks, interested in your take when she was the beaten chalk at Ellis 3 back.
I didn't like that race. I didn't really see a big excuse for her there, although it was a little bit of a layup. I don't know, then I feel like, Cox and the connections are trying to figure out what her best surface is. Maybe they don't even know. I don't know either, and I don't really like her running style necessarily for this race. I'm just not a big fan.
The 12 is bicameral, is going to have to work out a trip from the far outside post. She got a very nice trip in winning a first-level allowance at Del Mar in her turf debut. We're going to watch that race right now. She broke sharp in this race. She settled into the pocket. She got out at the right time, and she's going to get home with a career-best 85 buyer. It appears she has found a home on turf. Getting this sort of trip from post 12, unlikely, but she's in very good form.
Yeah, probably not going to happen. We'll see if she can take a little step forward off of this win, which, to be honest, Dan, I wasn't particularly taken with. I thought the trip had more to do with it than anything else, and I think she has to improve quite a bit if she's going to win this race.
Of the 2 also eligibles, the 13 Sunroof's a maiden. She would be in it tough. I guess the 14 Diamond Wow is an opportunity to do some good things. She was second in the Jessamine last year at Keeneland. She's been very lightly raced and would get blinkers for the first time. It would be a tough post, but she wouldn't be impossible.
No, I would probably use her if she got in. I really liked her as a 2-year-old. I thought she ran great in the Jessamine. And she's only had 1 turf start since then.
Before we get to our top selections, please click the subscribe button on the Daily Racing Form YouTube channel. Breeders' Cup right around the corner. We will have all the previews and handicapping analysis on DRF's YouTube channel. Top pick time for the Grade 3 Valley View. Mike, you're going with Frippit, 30 to 1 on the morning line. Good tactical speed. I could see this filly just riding the rails in behind the leader.
Yeah, she's going to need a trip if she's going to pull off what would be an upset here. I think she's run well in both of her turf starts, Dan. I appreciate that she's really lightly raced. I am not against Dulce Zell in here at all. I didn't feel like you were going to get the 5 to 2 on her. I think she's going to be shorter than that. And so I'm just going to take a small shot here, try to get Frippit in there with the favorite.
Considering Dulce Zell's resume this year, multiple graded stakes, Mike's right, 5 to 2 is fair. We may not get that. I still think 2 to 1 might even be fair in this field, considering her tactical ability. I'll go with her as the most likely winner, but I'm very interested in Mike's pick at a price. Mike's going 2, 5, 6, 7. I'm going 5, 12, 1, 7 with regrets I didn't use the 6 in the Grade 3 Valley View, one of 2 stakes at Keeneland on Friday. Best of luck.